Are you already overloaded with the new goals, the vision setting, the vision board, and you feel like, okay, that's wonderful, it sounds great, but how do I actually do it? What is the application of what you're telling me to do? If you are feeling that way, then join me because we're going to talk today. That's why we're in front of a board, because we're going to talk today about how to actually apply the principles and set some goals that are actually going to get knocked down. We're going to talk about the D.A.R method and how it looks in real time, how you can actually apply it to your life and to your firm. So come on in the room, join me for this episode of the Attorney Cheat Code Podcast. Hi, my name is Attorney Alicia Jones, and I'm a Texas-based attorney. And if this is your first time here, then go ahead and hit that button so that you can be notified of future episodes. And of course, if you rock with me before, then welcome back in the room. Make sure to share this with another attorney because we are not crabs in a barrel. What we are doing is making sure that we are growing together. Last time we talked about the D.A.R method. And if you're wondering about that, make sure to click the link in the description to check out that episode. But the D.A.R method is going to help you not just set goals and not just write things out, but really be intentional about the way that you're creating your firm. Because that's what we do here with the Attorney Cheat Code Podcast. We are not just creating firms just for the sake of having them, because good job for you. But we are creating profitable law firms so that we can live the life of our dreams. When you're thinking about your firm, when you're thinking about what you want to do, when you're thinking about the life that you want to have, the life that you want your children to have, you have to be intentional with that. You have to make sure that you're setting aside time to set goals. And I'm not going to say realistic goals because your goals should be a bit scary, because if it's something that you can do easily, then just do it. But we're going to set some big goals that we're going to have to stretch ourselves for, things that we're believing God to do for us. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the D.A.R method. And we talked about, like I said, on the last episode. So D.A.R. And the D is to define. We're going to define, and then we're going to use A to align. And then R is going to be relentless. We're going to be relentless in our pursuit of our goals, relentless in focus, relentless in making sure that we are moving distractions out of the way and that we're getting to the goal that we want. The biggest thing for us to do is to define. When we talk about define, that just means that we're going to look at December 31st, 2026, right? So December 31st, 2026, you're going to create your statement. And you want to not think about how am I going to make this work? Who are the people that I need to have in place? Right now, we're just going to dream. So December 31st, 2026, you want to look at that and you want to make your statement as you're standing on December 31st, 2026. So we're going to reverse engineer. We're going to start with the end in mind. What do you want to be true about your firm, about yourself, about your family, about what you have done on December 31st? And this is not just for this year. This is every year. On December 31st, the last day of the year, what do you want to be true? What do you want to have accomplished? So on December 31st, 2026, my firm, and instead of just saying my firm, put your actual firm in there, the firm of Joe Smith, the firm of Allison Robinson, the firm of the law office of Shelley Jones, whatever it is, the law office of, and enter in your law firm's name. So the law firm of, and I'm going to say Alicia Jones. My firm's name is Jones Legal. So I'm actually going to put the law firm of Jones Legal. And the first thing we're going to do is declare that we are profitable. So the law firm of Jones Legal was profitable. And this is just your foundational statement, profitable. This is just your foundational statement. Once you start to work more through it, then you'll start to put in different things like for myself, for mine, and this is how I do mine. I have my board here, if you can see it. And if you're just listening, I create my firm in a year on a board. That's just the way I like to do it, because clearly I'm not going to walk around with this whiteboard everywhere. But this is just for purposes of you seeing how we can lay out that D.A.R method. But what I do is I go through and I'm going to go by quarter. So I'm going to show you how I do that on the board. But when I'm looking at it, what I changed my statement to was not just it was profitable, because of my firm is already profitable, but my firm experience its most profitable year yet. And that is my initial statement. So again, as you work through it, then you'll see, okay, the law firm of Jones Legal was profitable. And you'll start to work and tweak it in a way that works for you and your firm. And that is more true for you and your firm. Now, the next thing you want to talk about is the next statement you're going to say is, I paid myself consistently. Because as entrepreneurs, we're the ones that really bear it's on our shoulders when the firm is not making money or when the firm is not making as much. But we are also the ones that get to enjoy it when the firm is more profitable. So what we want to make sure that we're doing and what we're moving into, if you're not already, is paying yourself consistently. So your next statement is, I paid myself consistently. And like I said, you can add that number there if you want, and you can say, I pay myself, $10,000 a month consistently, or whatever the case is. But we just want to make sure that we're saying, I paid myself consistently. And that's what I am writing now. I paid myself consistently. That's a big deal. For my first few years of practice, there was not consistency. Did I pay myself? Yeah. But was I paying myself like a W-2 worker every 2 weeks? And was I setting aside taxes? And was I paying into Medicare? And was I setting aside retirement? Absolutely not. So this statement is not to be taken lightly, that I paid myself consistently, especially if you're thinking about launching your firm. Start to declare this now, because that's going to ensure that what you do and how you move, once we get to the A, how you're going to align your year with this December 31st statement. So the law firm of Jones Legal was profitable. I continued, is what I put on I continue to pay myself consistently. And then we want to move from there, but you want to make sure that you have these two. So if you need to pause the video, pause it. If you need to pause the podcast, or you're just listening to the audio, then pause it for a moment so that you can really be intentional and write those first two sentences down. Okay, now we want to talk about the firm, and we want to talk about the revenue that the firm is generating. So I'm going to switch colors. I'm going to go to a red marker now. So visualize me writing in a red marker if you're not watching. So the law firm of Jones Legal was experienced its most profitable year yet. Remember, this is December 31st of this year. We haven't gotten there yet, but we are declaring. And I continue to pay myself consistently. We, because that is the firm now, we experience revenue of such and such dollars. Put it there. I know it's scary, and if it's not scary, add 25%. So we experienced revenue of, and let's say your goal is $500,000 for the year, period. And I put it in red for a reason. We experienced revenue of $500,000, of $250,000, of $1.5 million, of $5 million, whatever it is. Start with declaring it here. So we experienced revenue of $500,000. Now, this is what's really important. The next statement we're going to say is about you again, because this statement, a lot of times when we're thinking about setting goals for the firm, we, for whatever reason, forget that we are people. We forget that we have spouses and children and friends and family and things to do, and sororities and fraternities and, church obligations. We forget those things when we're talking about the firm. But what we are not doing is killing ourselves to get to this number. So the next statement you're going to say is, I took X days of vacation, guilt free. And yes, right, guilt free. So, one of the things that entrepreneurs don't do, one of the things that attorneys often won't do, is actually take vacation. So, if we're building the firm of our dreams to create the life of our dreams, I don't know about you, but the life of my dreams is not in my office. The life of my dreams does not have me working 60, 80 hours a week. The life of my dream allows me to travel. It allows me to travel with my children and my husband. It allows me to expose my children to different cultures. It gives me freedom. So when I'm thinking about getting this number, let's say again, it's a $500,000, then I also need to make sure that I'm balancing that. And I have to be just as bold with that number. I need to be bold with my vacation time. So I took blank amount of days of vacation time, guilt free. One of the things that, we did a cheat code circle a couple months back, and we talked about some of the goals for those attorneys. And one thing that was consistent among all of those attorneys that were in that cheat code circle was they want freedom. Not that we don't enjoy the work, but the work, and if you've been in it at any amount of time, the work that we do, because we deal with people and we take on their problems, it can be very consuming. So when we're thinking about vacation, we're thinking about our firm, they're thinking about freedom. What does it look like to enjoy the work, but also enjoy the life that the work and the funds from the work, the revenue that the firm creates? What does it look like to actually enjoy that? One of the biggest things that I saw was that attorneys want to do a 30-day vacation without talking to anybody from the firm, without having to report back in, without having to check any emails, with turn that work phone off and actually go away for 30 days and come back to a profitable firm, a firm that is running because you have good systems in place. Remember, we've talked about that. A firm that is running because you have good people in place. We're going to talk about that. A firm that has hired more people because of the systems. They are, or have new clients and they're continuing on with the clients. And clients that understand, hey, this is what I do. I take 30 days. I am not in my firm for the month of June. I will see you when I return. Anything that you need can be handled by the people that I have in place, because I have hired good people, by the systems that I have in place to make sure that we are taking care of our people just as if I was in the office. So when we think about, I took blank days of vacation, guilt free, then what is that for you? Maybe you say, each quarter I want to take a week off. So if that's 7 days times 4, then we're at 28. So you took 28 days of vacation. That is probably unheard of for a lot of us, but it is just a week. It's 7 days, once a quarter, that you just take off and you don't do firm things. You are not focusing on the firm, but you are being refreshed and rejuvenated, and you're being creative. I have really good friends, and I'm one of them. I like to be creative. So maybe I'm doing pottery during that time without worry. Maybe I'm painting or sculpting or whatever it is. Maybe I'm experiencing something new with being creative. Maybe you got a t-shirt line on the side, or you want to make some shirts for your kiddos. Now you can have that week to do that. And you're going to put that in there. So I took blank days of vacation time, guilt free, because you deserve it. So I'm just going to put a number here. I'm going to do 30 because that was the number from the cheat code circle. So I took 30 days of vacation time, guilt free. This is your statement. This is what you're going to speak to yourself every day. When you wake up, you have your devotional time, you have your prayer time. Then I want you to then think about the firm, and this is what I want for my firm. And that is how you are going to define what December 31st looks like for you and your firm. Next, we're going to move to the A, which is align. Okay, welcome back. So now we're going to talk about align. So when we're thinking about align, we're going to align our year, our focus quarter by quarter with our defined December 31st statement. So to do that, we got to think about the people, the processes, and the profit. So when we're thinking about people, who do you need in place to make sure that your defined December 31st statement is actually true? Now that means, do you need more attorneys? And we always think about that, right? Like, okay, maybe I need attorneys. So the first thing I have here is people. That is number one under align. And then I'm going to think about the people that I need. So if I really want to be free and I'm representing other people and I have court obligations, then of course I'm going to need another attorney. So you want to start there. Maybe the attorney is the first hire if you haven't already. And one thing that I've noticed that we do in the legal field that they don't do outside of the legal field is we seem to hire from the bottom up. because whether it's because of money or resources or whatever the case may be, or just lack of knowledge. But in Fortune 500 companies, because I've done the research, I've talked to the people, I've seen it, they hire from the top down. So they're going to hire their management level first before they hire the associates under them. And so for us in the legal field and of the law firms, we're thinking instead of hiring the attorney first, we often start with a law clerk or a legal assistant or someone to answer the phone. Not saying that role is not important, but I want you to think about it this way. If you hire the attorney, and there's two attorneys in the firm, it's just you and another one, and now that other person can do all the things you can do as well. They can go to court, they can research, they can speak to clients, they can handle consultations, they can run a case, they can answer phones, they can run payroll, they can take funds, they can handle paid consultations. There's so much that other person, that other attorney can do that if you hire a law clerk first, they cannot. So think about it that way. And of course, do what works for you and your firm. But that attorney is going to be clutch because that immediately multiplies you. So now you have an attorney and you think, okay, I don't want my attorney answering the phone. Makes sense. I get it. So you need some support staff. Or maybe you have so many cases you're like, I know the attorney's going to have to be in court. They're going to need support. So maybe that looks like a paralegal. I'm going to write paralegal. Maybe that's what you need, is a very good paralegal. Maybe you do need someone that is going to handle intake, because that's a big deal for you to make sure that that intake process is very streamlined and that when clients are onboarded into the firm, that it looks the same way every time. So the next thing we're going to write is intake. And these are not in any particular order outside of what I've already said about attorneys, but these are just some of the roles that you may want to consider with the firm. And of course, if you're like, you know what, I don't have the funds yet for that, I don't have the resources for that, consider a law clerk. You were there, you know, I know for me, I'm going to speak for me. When I was in law school, if I could go to a law office, even before law school, I remember working for this guy, Joel Lee Williams in Alabama, and I'm still in undergrad. But to be in the office, to be around the law, and to feel like I was doing anything worth value, which I'm sure I was not, but to feel like I was helping, or to feel like my research meant something, oh my goodness. And I was paid nothing. And I never asked for anything, never wanted anything. I wanted the experience. So treat people right, of course. And he really did. But think about that. A law clerk, that is somebody that can come into the firm, devote a few hours, and then, of course, you may need somebody on the phone. So maybe you need a receptionist or someone to handle those incoming calls, of course, or to make calls to the court, make calls to opposing counsel, make calls to clients, giving them case updates, receptionist. And if I've spelled anything wrong, don't be a hater. Don't do that. So attorney, paralegal, intake, law clerk, receptionist. There are so many other positions that you can have in the firm. Of course, once you get bigger, you maybe have an office manager. Maybe you have a client services manager. But you notice those are management level. When you are a manager, that means you can do everything and all the tasks that are below your level. So if you're hiring, think about hiring at management level. Even if it's a paralegal, consider hiring at a management level paralegal, a paralegal that once you add more paralegals to your firm, they can begin to manage them for you. And an attorney that can manage other legal professionals or even support staff for you. So that's the first thing. When we think about the people that we need to make sure that our goal for December 31st, our statement that we've defined and declaring, to make sure that that is true, we're going to align with the people. The next thing is going to be the process. This, of course, is our systems. We talked a little bit about intake, but what systems do we have in place to make sure that we're getting the clients in? So we have systems, we have PNCs, which are potential new clients. What does it look like to get them in? We have consultations. Maybe we're getting all of our clients from referrals. Either way, whatever your source is for your clients, how are you ensuring that that continues to grow? How are you fostering those connections and those relationships? And what system do you have in place for that? What systems do you have in place to make sure if you offer two different services for your firm, that once a client finishes with one service, they hop right on to the next one. For my firm, we do estate planning and we do probate. So if I handle a probate matter for you, you've already experienced loss. Then the next natural progression, if you don't have an estate plan, is to move you to the second part of the firm for an estate plan. The next thing I need you to be with for my firm as an ambassador. I'm going to provide such a good service for you that you're going to tell everybody that you know. So what is your system what process do you have in place to make sure that happens for you? And then last but absolutely not least is the profit. What profit do you need to make monthly in that first quarter? What profit do you need to have to make sure that you've aligned your goals with the statement that you've defined for December 31st? What is that profit margin? What is it weekly? What is it monthly? What is it daily? Break it down so you really know your numbers. Break it down so you really can see if you're about to hit that goal. If you need to make some tweaks, maybe you need some different people in place, because people can, it's up and down, right? So make sure that you have the right systems and processes in place. If you don't have a good process, then you may be losing clients and not even realizing. You may have PNCs that are calling your office and they never get a call back. They never have a follow-up. They never get a quote from you. They don't know how to pay you. They don't know what the process looks like. So make sure that you have those processes in place, because it all feeds into the profit. Everything feeds into the profit. The people, the process. Everything feeds into the profit. And of course, last but not least, is to know your numbers. So people, processes, and profit. Now we go to our R, which is to be relentless. There is nothing to write. Being relentless means that you don't take your foot off their neck, and you've heard it in all types of ways. But I am here to tell you that you need to be relentless in pursuing what you believe God has given you, what you believe you are put here to do. You need to be focused. So when there's an opportunity that comes, you're able to look at that December 31st statement and you say, does this align with where I say I want to be on December 31st? If it does, great, push forward. If it does not, then thank you for the opportunity. At this time, that does not align with where the firm is going right now. Do not do bill law. So if something comes in and you're like, I really want to focus this year, I really want to focus on family law, and I really want to just represent family law clients, and then somebody comes in about a dog bite case for personal injury, and you're like, ooh, I could really use that money. I get it. I have been there. How be it ever? Does that align with your statement for December 31st? If you are being a jack of all trades and a master of none, does that align? Think about our medical industry. You can go to a general practitioner, but when you have a specific issue, let's say it is something in your brain, God forbid, then you're not going to go to that general practitioner. You want to go to someone who specializes in that area. So think about that for your clients. They want to come to you because you specialize in that area. And the other thing that you can do when you specialize, you can charge more, because this is my area. This is my wheelhouse. This is where I live. Create a referral system with other attorneys that don't do that practice area. Hey, send me all of your family law cases. I'll send you everything I get for criminal law. Create that referral system, create that network, but you just want to be intentional and be relentless. Keep it going, keep the movement, keep the energy. And remember, part of our statement was the vacation. Be relentless about pursuing the vacation time that you want. Be relentless about pursuing the firm that you want. Be relentless until you get to December 31st and that statement is true. And of course, along the way, this is quarter one. Every quarter, you need to be checking this. How have I aligned this quarter with what I say I want? Am I actually doing it, or am I talking? Am I being about it, or am I talking about it? Have I actually put the systems and the people in place, or am I operating out of fear? And I get it. We all deal with fear or imposter syndrome or whatever other statement you want to create. Either way, get it out the way and do what you've been called to do. For me, one of the other things that I want to just add as a snippet is make sure that you're also thinking about vacation days for the courts or closure days for the court. There are some days that they're going to be closed. So do you want to plan your vacation time around that? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe you need some closures for your firm. I do an administrative week each quarter to make sure that my team can catch up with work, or we can do some internal trainings, or they can attend CLEs. Make sure that you're thinking about all of that when you're creating your year, just in case you're doing a vision board or just in case you're setting out your calendar. Make sure you're thinking about all of those things. But nonetheless, everything needs to align with your December 31st statement. I am so glad that you have joined me today. This is definitely how I plan This is how I make sure that I am continuing to move forward. And after 14 years of practice, I can say that it works. And after experiencing success, after moving to Texas, not being from Texas at all, I know that I am called to do a specific work. And I believe that you are too. And I am so excited for you. Please tell me about it. Drop me a comment, send me a message. And of course, I've opened up hours for discovery calls. If you want to work more in depth and you're like, I need someone to come alongside me, I need some type of partnership, some type of accountability, some support, some coaching, something like that, then reach out to me. Just go to attorneycheatcode /discovery, and I will see you in the next episode. Thank you for joining me. This is the Attorney Cheat Code Podcast.